Okay, so welcome everybody. Thanks again for joining another one of these team sessions. We do these every Wednesday following convocation, just very brief from 12:30 to 12:45 after convo. And I'll talk about different topics each week, just very specific things that you can do with some of the resources you have access to in the library. And last week I talked about what the course guides and textbooks or the LibGuide was and showed that. This week, I'm just going to show a couple things that we have access to that allow you to do self-assessment, so you can quiz yourself. And some of these resources, what's cool about it is a lot of these resources that you can do self-assessments from are pulling questions directly from required textbooks for your courses. So it's very on target for what you're studying, whatever the given text is. So as I said last week, if you go to liberty.edu/lucom/library. It'll take you to the library page, and everything I'm going to be talking about today can be found under this drop down for databases. I'm going to show Access Medicine. I'm going to show Clerkship Collection in case we have some students here attending from 3rd or 4th year. I'm going to show an LWW Health Library and Osteopathic Core Collection, and I'll also talk a little bit about TEMA, which doesn't play into things so much right now because it's really an anatomy resource. But IMSK will be here before you know it, so I just want to be sure that students are aware of what they can do with that. So also, like I said last week, these are really the commonly used databases here on the library page. If you click on this course guides and textbooks link that we showed last week, that just takes you to the LibGuide that we built that organizes all of our resources. So there's multiple ways to find the same thing. I've got the same featured resources here. There's the A to Z database link where you can find them, which has all of our resources alphabetically. So however you want to access these is fine. So for the first example I wanted to show is, I know last week I talked about the course guides that we built by class year, semester, and course. So for this example, we're in, first year students are in BPharm right now. So if you go to OMS 1 course guides, the fall semester, Biological Foundations of Osteopathic Medicine, these are your required textbooks. And we talked about this last week, how these link directly to those resources. So if, for example, we're looking to quiz ourselves from the high yield Q&A review for USMLE Step 1, Biochemistry and Genetics, I can click on the link in the LibGuide. It'll take you directly to the resource. If you're off campus, you'll have to sign. It'll take you to a page where you sign in with your Liberty username and password. And so this takes you to the required text. This is an ebook, and there's a button right underneath it that says "Go to Review Questions." If you haven't signed in yet or created a profile to access these things, you'll have to sign in, I believe, or maybe you don't have to sign in. I thought you did. But a lot of these resources, you'll have to create a login for the resource. It's free. You just create. Doesn't give you access to the resource. It just gives you access to more features. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my resource here. I have a generic one set up. So let me go back to. What did I do? Okay, so you can see here that you can grab however many questions you want from a total of 888 questions from this resource. So if I just have a few minutes, I have 20 minutes, I just want to grab 10 or 15 questions, you can create custom quizzes from sections within that textbook. You can see how many questions are available for each chapter, each subject. You can put however many of these questions you want to add to your custom quiz from each of these different sections: biochemistry, metabolic biochemistry, cellular and molecular biology. You can see all these different questions are covering different topics in different chapters. So you can build something custom, okay. Or you can do all of it. If you really are committed to doing all these, you can do all 888 questions, and it creates the quiz for you. And you can see it's just set up with multiple choice. You can answer the question. I have no idea what the answer is, but you can submit and view answer. And obviously I got that wrong. But it tells you the correct answer. It gives you an explanation for why that's the correct answer. It even tells you how many users actually answered that correctly. So only 24%, so I don't feel so bad. So that's one way that you can access review questions. If I go back and choose Access Medicine,
I'm sorry, can you say how I do that again before you do Access Medicine?
Sure.
I'm
So
sorry, just real quick.
the
5
way I got
seconds.
to that book was I went to the medical course. I went to
Okay.
the course guides,
Okay.
to databases, course guides and textbooks,
Okay.
OMS1 course guides,
Okay.
fall semester, BPharm course is a tab, and it's the first
Okay.
required textbook is the USMLE Step 1 High
Okay.
Yield Q&A for biochemistry and genetics.
Okay.
It opens the textbook and you go to review questions right here.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
So if we go to just Access Medicine, and again, there's some required textbooks in here. I'm not sure if you use Harrison's as part of BPharm, but there are other required textbooks in here. You'll see across the top, there's this menu bar where you can go look through the library of books, quick reference, infographics, drugs, multimedia, but I'm looking at study tools here. And there's a couple different things you can access. There's clerkship topics, which are more clinical in nature. There's flashcards. I know some students like to use flashcards, but these pull from these specific resources. A lot of them I think are pharmacology, but they do have microbiology and infectious disease flashcards. And if that's how you want to study, you have access to that. It's a little JavaScript application that runs on your computer. But the main thing is here, if I go back to review questions, I can actually pull from multiple resources within the basic sciences or clinical practice and board review. So if I expand basic sciences, I can get questions for anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, epidemiology and biostatistics, microbiology and pathology and histology, and I can build quizzes from any of them. Sorry, Dr. Slew?
Pathology and histology, I like.
Okay. So you can build your quizzes from here. So if I'm looking at biochemistry, you can see we've got several different books in this collection. So here's that high yield Q&A review for USMLE Step 1, but we also have access to the big picture, medical biochemistry, and Harper's Illustrated Biochemistry. And you see we've got 317 questions from this one and another 113 from this. So this is a really good resource for if you're just looking for tools to be able to quiz yourself, study questions, self-assessment kind of resource. And this is, again, in Access Medicine. Another required textbook for BPharm is Foundations of Osteopathic Medicine, and I'm just going to go back to the medical library page, go back to my course guides and textbooks, my OMS1 course guide, Fall Biological Foundations of Osteopathic Medicine. Oh, it's not a required textbook in that text. Okay, so I know it's required for OMM. So we have the Foundations for Osteopathic Medicine, or Foundations of Osteopathic Medicine is in the LWW collection. It's actually in the Health Library, more specifically what's called the Osteopathic Core Collection. So when I click on that text, it takes me directly to the textbook in LWW in the medical education section. And you can see up here at the top, you'll see text, which is all the books in that collection, video and audio, and self-assessment. And again, I believe you have to create a login for this. I already have one. This is free to do. It's just so you can actually use this part of the resource. So you can see it's got my name up here. But now I can pull self-assessments from anatomy, embryology, neuroanatomy, osteopathic medicine, and physical examination and history taking. Not quite as many questions as available in some of the Access Medicine resources, but you can see, especially when you get into the anatomy stuff, upper limb, tractor, spinal cord, brain, 116, 117 questions, and you can actually choose, if you expand this, you can break it up into further delineation of what you actually want to study, and you'll see you've got 15 for first week of development, embryology, 6 questions from blastocyst formation. I'm not going to read everything, but you can see how you can get more specific about which self-assessments you want to take. So that's available through. So if for example, if I click on osteopathic medicine, it's pulling from the Foundations of Osteopathic Medicine text for the self-assessments. We've got several questions here. For students or faculty that are involved with 3rd and 4th year in the clinical years, we have another resource that's also from LWW or Wolters Kluwer or Ovid, is all the same company. And if you go to the main library page like we saw before and expand databases, you'll see clerkship collection here. And if you click on that, you can see this is actually, it looks very similar because it's from the same resource, but instead of the Health Library or Osteopathic Core Collection, it's from the Clerkship Clinical Rotations, and there's a self-assessments available in this resource. Again, you have to sign in to this as well. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. So you can see the self-assessments are specific to clerkship clinical rotations. So instead of basic sciences and anatomy, we've got emergency medicine, family medicine, internal medicine, OBGYN, pediatrics, and surgery. And there's a ton of questions here. And you can see I've taken some of these before. But and again, all these are broken up. If we expand cardiology, we can look at all these different topics within cardiology. We can have questions available to us from here. So that's the second one I wanted to show. The last thing I wanted to show is this for first-year students. This won't come into play so much until you're in IMSK, starting to do anatomy and anatomy lab and all those things. But we have a resource called TEMA Med 1. And one of your required resources for IMSK for OMS 1 students is called the Gilroy Atlas of Anatomy. If I can find it here. You have a ton of resources here. Here it is, Gilroy's 4th edition, 2020. If you can click on that link to that textbook, it'll take you directly to that book that's available in, this is the TEMA Med 1 education platform. But if you go to the main link on the library page to TEMA Med 1, you'll see over here sources. You've got ebooks, cases, playlists is something you can create a login and save things to your playlist. Faculty, if you're interested, you can get images, video, and audio from this resource and put it into your PowerPoints for your lectures. There's also USMLE study resources, but this question and answers thing is what I wanted to show. And there's all these different topics. And this isn't an anatomy resource, so it's all going to be geared towards anatomy, but there's biochemistry, complementary medicine, dermatology, embryology. You do have to create a login for this resource to access these. I've already got one. You can create one for free. It's just as easy as setting up a Gmail account. And what's kind of cool about this is you can choose how you want to do this. And so they've got two different sort of modes for self-assessment. They've got a review session if you're just kind of casually studying. They also have more set up like a practice exam, and they can actually time these. So you can give yourself, you can set up your quiz and give yourself, say, 60 or 120 seconds or 2 minutes for every question. So if I want to do a review session for book selection, you can choose from any of these in the collection. The Gilroy is the anatomy and essential textbook. And you can see it's broken up into sections. So we have introduction to anatomic systems, back, thorax, abdomen, all these, and these are expandable. So you can see how many questions are available. So if there's 30 from the thorax, and I want to do a review session for 30 questions from the thorax. I can choose what kind of questions I want. So there's 30 different types. There's unfortunately none with images in this. All 30 are without images. But they keep track of whether or not you've gone over this before, whether you've answered it correctly. You can sort it out to only be quizzed on questions. If you've done a couple of these, you can take just a couple questions that you've answered incorrectly. You can limit the total number of questions, and you can limit the session time to how long you want to give yourself. So in 60 minutes is pretty generous for that. But you can do whatever you want, and you start the session, and it pulls questions. And you just answer them multiple choice. It's just like I was showing in the LWW collection. So those are just kind of the 3 points I wanted to hit today. Those are some of the self-assessment resources that you have access to. If you forget how to find some of the anatomy self-assessments in TEMA, when IMSK comes around, give me a call in the library, message me, stop by. I'm happy to show it again. And again, this is recorded. So if I spoke a little too quickly or some of this stuff you wasn't sure where everything was, the recording of this is going to be up on the course guides and textbooks page under the brief how-to videos. I showed that last week. If you go to the course guides and textbooks page, on the main page here, towards the left, all of the recordings of all these team sessions are here. So if I spoke a little too quickly or you forgot where something was, you can ask me, you can go back and watch the recording, whatever you like. So right on time, 12:44. So hopefully that was helpful. Thank you everybody for joining, and I hope everybody has a good rest of your day.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
as always.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, Rob.